Yes, indeed, folks, you're tuning in to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Now, before I go on with the next segment, which is going to be about Cataclysm, in fact, so's most of this, as you might expect, just a quick point that was brought up in the IRC channel. Someone started QQing. It's funny, I've had quite a lot of QQing lately, and I don't use the word QQing lightly because it's overused on the forums by... there was a great thread, actually, on Something Awful a little while ago, which is called... something on the lines of internet misinterpretations, as in what the internet thinks something means versus what it actually means. And that applies also to the Warcraft forums. Now, what the Warcraft forums thinks is QQ is actually anything they disagree with. That's viewed as QQ. That also applies to whining. Also, elitism is anyone who has done more raids than them. And a casual scrub is anyone who has done less raids than them. It's always nice to have those definitions. Someone was making the comment that I'm not all players. Well, thanks for that. Great. I've been informed. It's a good job that you were here to give me this pearl of wisdom I would have never realised. Saying that new players deserve content too. What do you call the last 3 expansions? Including vanilla, of course. What do you call levels 1 to 80? Why does a new player need new content? Everything's new! Excuse me, fellas, I'm just gonna head over to Lord of the Rings Online now and demand a whole bunch of level 5 content. When I've played that game for about 25 minutes. I'm gonna go demand that, because I, as the new player, am entitled to new content, even though I haven't done 98% of the other stuff. What? I swear, some of you just come up with the most bizarre stuff. I know it's cool to have a dig at me. You know, certain lesser podcasts have been doing it lately. I can understand. I mean, it's not like there's any good content to talk about. You know, it's not like Blizzard just released massive amounts of information about a great new expansion. No, but it's all about Total Biscuit for an hour and a half. Oh, it's laughable. It really is. Right, let's talk about some good stuff, shall we? Let me get this out here right now. What I view as good stuff is Cataclysm. I view Cataclysm as an incredibly exciting thing. Get that out there right now. And then you can spend the next 15 minutes picking yourself up. You'll be shocked. You really will. I think Cataclysm is the best looking expansion that Blizzard has ever put together so far. Now here's why. And it's mostly to do with the fact that Wrath of the Lich King looked so dull. I made this comment on the BlizzCon Rockcast show. And hi to Stompolina, who's hanging around the channel at the moment. Yes, one of the only shows I actually listen to, actively outside of WoW Radio. Because it's good. Shock horror. Listen to good shows. Wow. Truly horrific concept there. And I was guesting on that show for a little while. And it's entirely possible that... Oh, no, there we go. Sorry, my sound broadcaster was freezing up there. Getting a bit clogged. I was guesting on that show, and I made the comment that Cataclysm looks really cool. And I also made the comment that Wrath of the Lich King was really dull. And it was a, really underwhelming announcement. And suddenly, of course, at least 2 fanboys come to the defense of Blizzard in their IRC channels, like, oh, how dare you say so many bad things. All you do is go on playing, and you hate them. Your bleeding hearts are staining the carpet, dear sirs. Understand this. It's vitally important for anyone who is involved in any way with anything to have the ability to constructively criticize and indeed maybe get a little bit angry every now and again. That represents the ability to really, really care about the product in question. If you don't care about the product in question, then you're not going to bother to get all up in arms about it. You're not going to try and solicit other people's opinions. You're not going to try and maybe form a movement, a campaign, write an online petition. The horrors. The ultimate weapon on the internet. You're not going to do anything like that. You might be perhaps more inclined to simply coast along, not really caring, being a little bit apathetic. And maybe when confronted with that kind of criticism, you might get a bit upset, because it shatters your illusions, or indeed your delusions. It shatters the delusion that everything is okay. Everything's going well. Everything is flowers and kittens and puppies and happiness and free candy for all. No, it is not. Not by any stretch. And when Wrath was first announced, I was significantly underwhelmed. Now, the question is, of course, why? Why was I significantly underwhelmed? Well, the answer is quite simple. The feature list looked hashed together. It really did. The zones looked uninspiring. There was no word whatsoever of the raid content, and lo and behold, as a result of there being no word of the raid content, oh look, the raid content was really bad at level 80. For the 6 months before they released another tier of content. 6 months, people. Dance studios were listed as part of the feature list, and they weren't even put in there. Barbershops as part of the feature list. Pro tip. This is something you'll learn if you browse some of the really terrible budget and shovelware releases on Steam, yeah? You'll notice the feature list will be padded with stuff that doesn't even sound like a feature. When that happens, the warning lights should be going off, the sirens in your head, saying, oh dear, if this is all they could come up with for their feature list, things are gonna be going horribly wrong. And indeed, what happened? A massively underwhelming expansion, viewed by most, particularly the veteran player base, as the worst expansion that Blizzard has ever come out with. Ever in anything. I don't count Hellfire, because they never did that. But Cataclysm. Oh no, Cataclysm is just... I was excited. I watched that trailer and I was thrilled. And it wasn't even anything special. It was no crazy cinematics. It was just in-game footage showing off the game. And wow, I was so floored. I really was. I was thrilled about it. It's funny how leaks from certain sites cannot truly encapsulate the thrill of hearing something genuinely exciting from the mouths of Blizzard. They're really good at hyping up their products. They're really good at making us excited. And even then, they didn't do such a great job of doing it with Wrath because it was a lackluster product. But Cataclysm, oh no, that looks great. Now, I'll be going through the features of Cataclysm a whole lot through the next few weeks, no doubt. There's going to be probably months of content based on this. But what I'd like to concentrate on here is the idea of reusing content. Now, recycled content is something that I have opposed in the past. However, some of you may, of course, remember that there was one kind of recycling content that I did not oppose. And something that I predicted, indeed, months and months ago. Mostly through... Well, let me put it this way, this great saying. A broken watch is right 2 times a day. So, it was mostly guesswork, I must say. But if you look at the way that Blizzard does things, I think you can predict things like that. With a reasonable amount of accuracy. There is one kind of content that I don't mind being reused, and that is areas within World of Warcraft. Because something I have decried repeatedly over the 4 years that I've been doing this show is one thing, and one thing specifically, and that's the static nature of the world. The world never changes. I hate that. I hate that the vast majority of the landmass within World of Warcraft is there for one reason and one reason alone, to get you through a couple of levels, and then you will never ever go there again. Unless you absolutely have to. I.e., you're travelling through it. Generally speaking, you'll get teleported or just fly over it and not care. And nothing happens. All of those epic things that you did, all of those quests that you completed, all of those lives you saved or indeed destroyed affect absolutely nothing within the world, and you feel like you've just been duped. Nothing worse than that. Feeling like you've been fooled into simply doing errands as opposed to taking part in an epic battle. I am okay with them changing that. Indeed, I am more than okay with them bringing that back and changing the world. Because zones are something entirely different to raiding. Reusing raid content is something that never works well, because you do that on a daily basis. It's like Naxxramas, yeah? Prime example of why reusing raid content is a terrible idea. You do it on a weekly basis over and over and over again, content that you had already done to start with. You were then expected to have that last you 6 months. 6 months! 6 months of entertainment in the same place. Not gonna happen. However, zones in WoW, you are not expecting a single zone to entertain you for 6 months. No, indeed not. Maybe a few days. And there is a powerful link to those zones via, of course, nostalgia. Nostalgia, sometimes a cruel, lying mistress, but other times, the warm embrace of nostalgia is something that is very comforting. It's very enjoyable. So, to go back to the Barrens and see everything change, see the results of my work, see brand new high-level content within there, using the questing system from Wrath, hopefully improved even further, which was a lot better. Remember I said the one thing that Wrath did right was to get me to care about questing again? Oh my. 2 years more advancement on that, in the zones that I really care about, as opposed to all these Northrend places that I don't know? What an exciting concept. What a thrilling innovation. That's awesome. It really is. I am so looking forward to going back to those zones. The Barrens, particularly, being split in half. That's content. That's such a great idea because it serves two practical purposes. One, it splits the Barrens into two zones, a low-level zone and a high-level zone. The Barrens were too large. We all knew this. So, shrinking the Barrens and making it a more compact and better-to-play experience is great for alcoholics. It's great for new players, because they never have to suffer the Barrens again, and it's great for, of course, old-school players, because we, as the old-school players, the veterans, get to go back and experience what has happened in the Barrens over the last 4 years, and as a result of the cataclysmic events. We get to fight the high-level content within the Barrens. We get to do those group quests. We get to do the quest lines, which hopefully lead on from what we did in the past. And I think you will find even the most jaded WoW player, myself included, even the most hardcore raider who uses questing only to get to his goal of max level, to go back into the raid instances, will care. They'll remember all the fun they had when they were fresh-faced and new to the party. They will remember why it was that they persevered through that content and didn't do so in any other game. What was special about the leveling content, now brought up to date, 5 years on, with a more gritty, a more dangerous, and thoroughly more dark and violent edge. Some of which we saw in Wrath, and indeed stated specifically that we all left a little part of ourselves in Northrend, and that the world we were coming back to would be way, way darker. What an exciting concept. How thrilling is that? That is the one time when reusing content is good. Because how many times have people been crying out on the forums for that kind of thing? How many times have you seen the posts and the threads saying, we want to see old Azeroth revamped because that's what we care about? Let me ask you this. Which of these zones are more memorable to you? Which? Terrakar Forest? Or Ashenvale? Or even further in, Borean Tundra? Or Desolus? Or Eastern Plaguelands, Western Plaguelands, Ashara? The Barrens even? Goldshire? Westfall? All of these great places. How many more memories do you have from those places than you do from the newer content? Why do you think that is? It's half nostalgia. It's half because it was a brave new world to explore, and you weren't so jaded. And it's half because, maybe, just maybe, they actually designed those zones so that they mattered to you as you went through. And so that even the people that cared very little about the quests, they at least remember something about those zones and something about the storylines within. Don't get me wrong, they've done a good job with the storytelling in Wrath, and of course in the Burning Crusade. But I don't think you can ever replace the feeling that you got back then. Hopefully we'll be able to recapture some of that with this new content. And for once, and this is something that's never happened before, I'm looking forward to leveling again. Wow. What an incredible concept. Sounds awesome. It really does. That, ladies and gentlemen, is when reuse is okay. That is when Blizzard does it for the right reasons, and not for the wrong reasons. And that will benefit all of us as veteran players. My name is Total Biscuit, you're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I promised I shall provide the history of the Murloc, followed by a brand new Ask the Murloc. It's all coming your way right now here on Blue Please on WCRadio.com. Enjoy.